Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to do a quick walkthrough of the Avid 23 Fusion. We've had it about 2 months now. Got through the motor break-in on the Yamaha. Been fishing out of it, taking the family out, stuff like that. So just want to point out some things that you might not have seen on the one video that's out right now, which is the video by Avid. Some things that I think they could have done better, what I like about it, some things to consider, as you're ordering your boat and stuff like that, especially if you're going to be fishing. So enjoy. So the first thing, I added the 10-foot Minn Kota Raptor on this. Originally I wanted to add two of them, one on each side to, hold the boat better in position. But with the one Raptor, you drop it down, you kind of swing downwind. So depending on how you want to fish, that can be not ideal. So we wanted to add a second. However, with the swim platform on the back here, you can't fit a second bracket like you see here. One of the things you can do, you can order it without the swim platform, but if you do want the swim platform, you can move it over here a little bit and get some space. This was already mounted once we decided to add the second Raptor on here, so we didn't get it. One thing we could have done, we could have pulled this swim platform off and potentially put all the screws back into the holes with some sealant, and then just moved it over with some new screws. We decided not to for now. However, after being out in it quite a few times, there are times that I wish I had the second power polar Raptor, but we just kind of deal with it for now. We've learned that with the trolling motor up front, if you spot lock with the trolling motor up front, the front of the boat will face into the wind. If you use the Raptor, the back of the boat will face into the wind. So depending on how we want to position, that's kind of what we use to keep us in spot. So we're gonna hop up in the boat now. The back here is where you fill up the gas, obviously. I have found that when you're filling up the gas, you can't really kind of wide open put it in there. I'll do it kind of half throttle per se with the gas. That seems to help it take the gas in. The gas tank does run pretty much the length of the boat here. It's a very skinny gas tank. I'm not really sure why you can't go wide open throttle with the gas and have it work, but if you do try to do it, it'll shut off. So go half with that and you should have no issues with it. We got the 175 on this. I think this boat can handle a 200 or 250, not sure. We're enjoying the 175. It's a little bit smaller. I think it's a 2.8 liter as opposed to the larger 200 or 250. We do like it. We cruise around 35. Wide open throttle will get high 40s, low 50s depending on who we have in the boat. We do have the Atlas 6-inch hydraulic jack plate in the back, which really helps out with that, getting the motor in the perfect position. But gets up on plane real quick. It's a quick hole shot, so it's plenty fast for us. So yeah, 175 was a good choice. So we got the jump seats here. So these here, how they work, you pull it out. Try doing this one-handed and you pull it up. So there's your jump seat. You have one on either side here. The one thing I will say about these, they do tend to hold water when it rains. There really is no good drainage for this, with everything kind of around the seat here and in the back. You can see there's even some pine straw back there that falls in there. It can be a pain in the butt to clean out, but not really that big of a deal. The one thing I do wish, I do wish they put some storage underneath that seat. It'd be nice if that seat bottom flipped up, and even though it'd be a shallow storage, it'd be nice just to have that extra storage to throw in towels or something else. Right over here, we got the lava on the back here. So I got some buoys, fenders, everyone call them, in there. I will say, you know, the one thing that we've noticed, it didn't happen when we first got the boat, but now we've been out a couple more times. The live well seems to fill up while we're on the water, so we're trying to figure that one out. Not a big deal. It doesn't ever come over the top or anything. It seems to get to a certain level and drains itself out, but we're trying to figure that one out right now. When we come off the water, you know, you pull the drain plug and the whole live well drains. Looks like the boat's holding a ton of water, but it's all pretty much in the live well. One thing I'll point out a couple of different times is the weather seals here. So you can see here how they're not touching perfectly. This one isn't too bad with how close they are. Some of the other ones that you'll see, there is a gap there, which prevents the hatch from being waterproof. So just keep that in mind. We're probably going to add something there to close that up, and that should make it completely waterproof. All right, so we'll talk about the leading post here on the console then. So the leading post, it's a good height. You know, you can flip this way, and then you can, you know, sit in the back here and face out the back. It's a nice leaning post. You know, it has kind of a little bit of a footrest on it. I wouldn't really call it too much of a footrest. It is a good height. I mean, I'm not the tallest guy, but you know, I can lean up against it. I don't typically sit on it while I'm driving. It's just more comfortable to stand. The steering wheel does tilt up and down. This is tilted all the way up. You have your switches here. I have heard some people say that when it rains, their fuse has gone bad and their switches don't work. This thing sat outside through Hurricane Elsa, or Tropical Storm Elsa, whatever the heck it was. And a couple other big rainstorms. Haven't had any issues with it. Everything still works on it. Obviously you have your throttle, you have your key. We mounted the switch for the jack plate right down here. We have the Simrad Go 9 on here, flush mounted, so you can see a little bit of room on either side of this. Obviously if you don't go with the glove compartment here, which I'm glad we did, we have all of our keys and our remotes and everything in there. Boat registration, you know, suntan lotion, always a necessity there. I'm glad we got that. However, if you didn't get that, this is our holder for our Raptor switch. So obviously you see if you didn't have this, how much more room you'd have. You could probably put I would think a 12-inch screen in there, depending on the unit. Like a Humminbird, you know, Solix is a little bit smaller than the Helix series. So you could probably fit, you know, a 12-inch Solix in there, or who knows, maybe you could fit a Helix. Maybe if you move this over, this is the head unit for the sound system. You know, if this was moved over a little bit, you'd probably gain even more room. You have your analog gauges here. You got your RPM, your gas gauge, and your miles per hour. I will say it seems like the gas gauge is a little off. We'll fill it up, we'll be full, and it feels like in no time we're down to half, and we just kind of sit at half for a real long time. You got your cell phone holder right here. We use this a lot with the Bluetooth for the sound system. And then you have your USB chargers, you know, down here. There's 2 ports for them. They do work very well. You know, I have my phone on here charged on them, and it charges up pretty quickly. So that was nice. Obviously, remember, you're going to be using your battery for that. You have your C deck with the Avid logo up on top here that you can put, you know, your phone or stuff you don't want to slide off. I will say anything that's any tall, like we had the suntan lotion sitting up here, and every time we take a turn, it would tumble off of here. So keep that in mind. Good for phones, good for anything that's kind of flat. You do get a little bit of wind as you're driving in here, so anything light will blow off of this, even with the windshield here. We have our Minn Kota puck for our Tarova here for the GPS and the spot lock. But overall, it's a very comfortable console. I think it's laid out really nicely. You have your battery compartment down here. As you can see, we got some kids' clothes in there for my son, but you know, you can see we have 3 batteries in there. You could probably fit a 4th depending on how you maneuvered this. If you want to run a 36 volt or, you know, even a second house battery for the battery switch. You can see your rod holders from the console coming in here. They are open on the bottom, so they drain out into here, and then there's a drain overboard in here. I have my onboard digital charger right there for the Minn Kota dual motor batteries. There is a battery switch over here as you can see. So right now it's in the off position. Switch it to 1, it runs off your house battery. At least that mine's set up. Switch it to 2, it'll run off of one of the trolling motor batteries. I try to keep it on 1. I know that if you put it on 2, the alternator or the battery will recharge battery 1, the house battery. But I don't like to kill my trolling motor batteries, and you know, I don't like to run all my other electronics off of that battery. That's just not how I like to do it. I like to keep that juice in that trolling motor because I use it a lot. You have right here is the Minn Kota charger plug-in, so very nice. This does pull out when you try to unplug it. Just push it back in, it'll stay there. Super nice setup there. Up here in the console you have the tackle storage right here. So I have one of my boxes out, but you know, 5 3600 size boxes fit in there. You can upgrade these to the Plano Edge boxes, Flambeau boxes, you know, any of those 3600. I think they're 11 1/4 by 7 or 8 inches, you know, by 1.5 inches. So any box that is, you know, that size will fit in there. You probably could fit a little bit bigger boxes in here. As you can see, you got some space out to here, so you can probably get a deeper box. But those 5 boxes are plenty for us for all of our hard baits, hooks and everything. You have another kind of bait live all up here. This one does not feel as bad as the one in the back when we're running, but it does still fill a little bit. We actually keep our ropes in there. You see there's actually some water in there now, so just keep that in mind. Again, this seal here is actually probably the best one in the entire boat because it's overlapping. So this stays very, very dry in here. When you're off the water, obviously when you're on the water, like I said, you get some water comes in there. So yeah, that's the console. You got some courtesy lights all around here. They're blue. They're on the switches on the console. There's your JBL speakers on the side. Really good system in here. Plenty of sound. They're plenty loud. You have your helm pad here, the C-deck with the Avid. That is nice to stand on, you know, while you're driving. That was a nice addition there. And then right here you got your cooler that comes with the boat. So these are a little bit different than the cooler that you'll see in the video. So this is the Marine Ultra. It is a different igloo cooler that Avid shows in the video, and some of the, you know, original Avid boats got the different cooler. But I will say my plan was to switch this out with my Yeti, but this thing holds ice pretty well. I mean, we get a full day of ice out of this. You know, we throw some ice packs in there sometimes without even ice, and it keeps everything cool. So we're very happy with how this has performed. Quick shout out to Z Bait Co. For you guys that bass fish or, you know, fish any kind of salt plastic swim bait, check them out. They make some high quality baits for a great price. But yeah, like I said, the main thing you'll see is in the Avid video. This cooler is a different cooler than what you get, but yeah, we're happy with it. Just real quick, wanted to shout out also Carolina Waters. If you guys are from Carolina, fish Carolina, you know, coast or inland at all, check them out. Pretty new company, but they got some awesome shirts and everything, and you know, let everyone know that you fish Carolina Waters. So one additional thing we added on the console is this bag here. This bag is just like any of the T-Top bags that you see. It's actually meant to go the other direction. It's meant to go this way, but with all of the different you know, supports and poles on this T-Top, it just didn't fit right. So I ended up putting this way. Stays out of view when you're driving. You know, like it that way, it's easy to access it. We have all of our life vests in there, first aid kit, a couple other things. We originally had our life vests up in this rod box right here, and it took up the entire box for the most part, so we lost it, the whole rod box. So we bought this bag up here to put those in. That's the one thing to keep in mind. If you're used to a bass boat and you want to get all your tackle and everything in here, you don't have a ton of storage like that. So you kind of gotta get creative with it and figure out, you know, how you want to get that all stored in here. There's not a big, you know, bait locker in the front, and the rod lockers don't go all the way up. So again, if you're going from bass fishing and you're looking for a family boat that you can take on the salt, this is the perfect boat for it. But again, there's some things you got to compromise and figure out a little bit. But overall, it's a great boat. We're really enjoying it. So the Avid T-Top, this is the T-Top is offered by Avid. You have 4 rod holders up top here. You have the light here. You have a anchor light up top here that we have bent down right now, but you can put that straight up. This light right here is actually really nice if you're, come home at night and you're backing into the driveway and you can't see. Hop up in the boat, turn this light on, and it will light the entire back of your boat and your yard up. I know it's not what it's meant for, but that's what we've been using it for, and it's really worked out well. Rod holders up here real nice. They got a PVC liner in them. Rods, they stay in there real well. We've had this thing wide open with 4 rods in there and no issues. I will say, when you stand on the back here and you fish, you gotta tell the person that's back here to watch out if you got rods back here, because they are very easy to hit in the back cast, especially for beginners. Here's the 10-foot Minn Kota Raptor again. I do love this thing. I've used power poles before, and I would prefer this over a power pole. It's just the features of it. The active anchoring is amazing. We had this down in we were in 7 feet of water, and we were anchored, and one of them awesome wake boats threw a big wake up at us, and it was almost like this thing knew the water and the wake was coming, because the second that it hit us, this dug down deeper and kept us in that spot. So can't say enough good about this Raptor. They are just phenomenal. You have your guide poles back here. They're just a PVC guide pole. We'll say this one here, one of my screws came off of it, and another one was very loose when we got it. So when you get these, check your screws, or your bolts I should say. Don't be like me and lose one. It's been holding fine, but I got to put another bolt in. This one here was fine. As you can see, it doesn't move as much. When you back into water, these sleeves kind of pop up out of the water and let you know where you're at. So we'll step up here to what makes the Fusion different than the other, than the FS series. That's these front cushions and the front seats on here, and this table right here. So with the table, there's a button underneath there. You press that button, that little black button, you unscrew it, take that piece off. And then there's actually a piece, I'll pull it out real quick, in here that we keep with our rods. So it's that piece right there, that's the table piece. Screw that in, then you can put this right here on top of that. It is nice, I will say, if you try to fish with that up, it really does get in the way. It can be a pain in the ass with that, but the table, it does also spin. It doesn't stay in one position, so it's not a solid table in the fact of you could bump into it or anything. If you bump into it, it is going to turn and spin. Not a big deal for us, but if you got someone that has wine or something on there and not a cup holder, it could easily get knocked over. Front cushions, they're very nice. As you can see, I have my front cushion taken out right now. The reason for that is when we're out here fishing, this cushion space is plenty for my wife and my son to kind of sit on and relax. That's sticking up because of that latch. They snap in real nicely. I've trailered the boat, driven it with them snapped in, no issues with them coming out. But again, I keep that front out because when you're out in the sun, these cushions get extremely hot. So much so that you can't even really stand on them. So when we're out there in the sun here in North Carolina and they get hot, I make sure that front one is out so I can stand on that non-skid decking that does not get hot, at least not like these. I mean, I'm sure you could splash some water on them and cool them off, but yeah, they get unbearable. And we do go barefoot in this boat, so obviously if you had shoes on it, it wouldn't matter, but we go barefoot because you can see we had someone in here with shoes this past weekend, and it is just so dirty, just tracks dirt everywhere. It is easy to clean. We have a brush and some 303 cleaner, spray it down, brush it off, spray it with water, and it just goes out the drain and cleans up really, really nice. You see your trolling motor up there. You have the C deck there where it plugs in. We went with the Tarova 24 volt, the 80 pound. If I could go back, I probably would have went with a 36 volt 112. This pushes the boat perfectly fine, but on the lower speeds, the 1 to 2, it doesn't move the boat too well. I think if we went with a 112, we could have kind of got a little bit more of an efficiency out of it, and could have ran on some lower speeds, but moves the boat nice. I think top speed here on a calm day, we can move the boat about 6-7 miles an hour. on speed 10. So, you know, that's plenty, but I think when you're trying to fight current or tides, you're probably going to want the 112 on this. You know, being aluminum, it is a lighter boat, but having that extra power is never a bad thing. So we got the rod box over here as well. This is where I have most of my rods in. And as you can see, there's a diaper in there as well. Like I said, I have a 2-year-old. So you can fit way more than 5 rods in here. I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rods in here, and there's a couple of the, you know, rod tubes that I'm not using, or one of them not using. You can put 2 or 3 rods in each tube, and they fit fine. You will have to finagle, you know, your reels with your the way your handles are and stuff like that, but you can fit plenty of rods in here. The one thing I will say, you cannot fit rods over 7 feet 2 inches with the tubes the way they are, which probably is a pain if you're a bass fisherman like me. However, what you can do, you can take these tubes out. You can cut the end off the tube. That should open up to let you put it in. One thing I do want to point out, this tube right here came to me in the boat with no screws in it. So we'll be getting some screws and putting that in. But yeah, that was kind of unfortunate that it didn't have any screws in it when we got it, but it's holding fine for now. And you know, it is what it is. One other thing I want to point out, you know, you have a front seat base right there. You have 2 seat bases back here in the back. If you use the straight pull seat base, you cannot put the jump seat up while you have a seat in that hole. So that is another kind of pain, but you can just get an offset seat base and then it'll work. The Fusion does not come with any seats. We purchased 2 seats separately, the Avid seats. We have not used them at all. They're, I believe, $350 a piece with the base, and we have not even used them once. So yeah, take that as you want. We probably, you know, I'll probably put one of the Millennium seats up front here for when I'm fishing by myself and want to sit down. So we also have a storage up here. This is your anchor box. We've got some towels, some throwable stuff for our anchor down there. It's a big box, to be honest with you. It's angled, so you know, this one here drains the best out of any of them and actually kind of stays dry. But you can see here kind of what I was talking about with the weather stripping. There's a gap right here, so any water that can, you know, get in here. This one here is kind of protected by the hinge, but you can imagine if that was, you know, up here where it can kind of get in, the water will just get in and just run into the hatch, which is actually what we have with almost all of our other hatches, especially this rod box that I showed you originally over here. Let me show you that gap that we have. So you can see the gap right here in that one, and the water just right here. The water just runs down in through there and just gets into here. There is a drain down there. I don't know if you see that little hole. So it does drain out, but then it just kind of sits in the boat then, especially when it's on the trailer. It doesn't fully drain back into the drain back there. It just kind of sits back in that corner. So that is kind of a pain, but come up here with a squeegee after a big rainstorm, and I squeegeed into the hole. Maybe if it was on the water, it would drain into the hole better, but sitting on the trailer, just kind of all puddles right there. So we got another hatch. This is technically the fish cooler up here, the insulated fish cooler box. As you can see, I have all my 6 cents bait boxes. Here's the other box that was behind the seat. Ended up just throwing it in there because somebody was sitting on the seat last time we were out, and I just got tired asking them to get up. So it's a big fish box. I mean, I've heard guys say that it doesn't hold ice that well. However, you know, when we first got the boat, we threw some ice in here and it held all day, no issues. You know, obviously if it's sitting out in the sun and super hot in there and you throw, you know, some ice in there and try to go out without filling up with ice, it'll probably melt pretty quickly. But you know, if you get some ice in there and before you go, and then probably add some more, it'll hold anymore, just like the Yetis. This one here probably has the worst gap, honestly, of any of them. As you can see, this one here holds a lot of water when it rains, unfortunately. Those paper towels in there were soaking wet after the last rain. There is a drain in the bottom down here. if you can see it. Too much crap in here, but there's a drain down there to drain this out. Drains right overboard, which is nice. You know, when you have the ice in here and the ice melts and whatnot, and all the fish gunk, you just kind of drain that out. But again, this is supposed to be the fish ice box. We don't use it as that. We use it as, you know, soft plastic storage. So yeah. So here's your pop-up cleats. You know, they're pop-up cleats. There's like any other pop-up cleat. You know, you got 3 of them here. What we typically do is, you know, we'll tie off on the front cleat and the back cleat, obviously. Throw a fender on this one, and then we'll throw a fender up close to that one. The one thing that I do wish is, you know, there's somewhere to tie a fender off, kind of back there a little bit towards the back of the boat. I'm sure we'll figure that out at some point. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but we haven't figured that out yet. Cup holders on the side. You can see you got the Yeti of coffee in there. It's like 900 degrees North Carolina, so it's like my personal heater for my coffee. Another cup holder right there. You probably saw you got cup holders up on the console. 3 fishing rod holders on either side. You know, like I said, it's a very comfortable boat. The beam is long in it. You know, you got plenty of room in here to walk around. The main difference you'll see between this, which is the 23 foot and the 21 foot, is this space back here behind the leading post. You don't have that space in the 21. The leading post is pretty much straight up against this right here, so you can't walk on the floor behind it like this. You know, it's easier to get to the cooler in the 23. And honestly, this boat isn't much to manage. You know, I come from a 17-18 foot bass boat, so I was a little worried with how this boat was going to handle and how big it was going to feel, but you know, it really doesn't feel that big. It's nice to have the extra space, but it's not unmanageable. It's very easy to manage this boat, especially for someone who's not used to a boat this size. You know, obviously the Fusion, we talked about the table. In the regular FS series, you'll have a storage spot right there. I mean, it would be nice to have that extra storage on the FS, but having the table for the family when we go out and stop and have snacks, which, as you can imagine with a toddler, is like every 5 minutes, it is nice to have. So one last thing here, this is that front cushion that I had out of the boat. This is what it looks like. This is about how big it is. Here's my hand on it for size reference, even though you have no idea how big my hand is. So the back of all these, they have a zipper on both sides. For the big ones, the small ones have one zipper. It's a cushion inside that's covered in like a real thin plastic, I guess, to help keep it waterproof. You know, these do hold some water. You know, I will say, if you keep these on your boat and you live in an area that gets very dewy in the morning, when you pick these up, all that dew is going to be underneath the cushions. So we'll probably start taking them off the boat, you know, to let that dew kind of get out, because it just gets trapped underneath there and stays underneath there if you store them on the boat outside. Obviously, if you got a garage, not a problem. But yeah, that's the big cushion there. Like I said, in the heat, these things get really, really hot. Even though it's a lighter gray color, they're very hot on your feet. So either wear shoes, or if you're gonna go barefoot, splash some water on it. I have no idea. Take out the front like I do so you can stand up there. But they're nice to have. The family loves sitting on them. So we got a swim platform back here. Just kind of sits here when you drive. I'm not sure if that moves at all when I drive, but haven't had any issues. I mean, there's no marks from it jumping up and down or hitting anything. You got this bungee right here that holds it. Flip it down, and there you go. Very sturdy. A very nice swim platform. Nice to have, especially if you're going to be, you know, out swimming with the family and, you know, need something to get back in, or even just to have in case somebody goes overboard. But you just kind of put that over, flip it back, and that's kind of where it stays. This is almost like it's almost like a starboard kind of material. It's very solid. Trailer, diamond trailer. Really like this trailer. Love the rims on it. This thing pulls great. It is, I don't have the swing weights on, but as you can see, I mean, that's the front of the boat. It's not too much farther than the front of the boat. We don't have any issues with making tight turns or anything like that. Just a great overall trailer. One thing I will say, somehow our brake fluid cap popped off, so we got this sweet camo duct tape on here. Got the checkered sticker there for the forward backup assist, which is amazing. If you have a Ford, I definitely recommend hooking that up. You got your wiring harness and everything here. Got your own little spot to stick on there. Trailer jack, obviously, a very nice trailer jack. It's very easy to load this thing. You know, we put it in the water. You can get the fenders just to the top or out of the water. You can actually run this on pretty slow. And these bunks here, which are some sort of a, you know, I don't even know, the rubber or plastic, whatever they are, they really grip the boat and straighten it out for you. So we come on pretty slow, and then we power it on and get it up, and winch it probably the last, you know, 15-16 inches or so. Very easy to put this thing on the trailer. Boat runs great. These are actually really cool. So these are like an Avid cutout, and when your lights are on at night, there's a little light inside there. I don't know if you can see it, but these will light up, and they just look cool. No function at all, but they look awesome. Again, the rims are sweet. So yeah, here's your trailer. I do have a transom saver on this thing. I will say I bought the TH Marine motor sticks, and they lasted like one time out before they completely broke. So I don't recommend them for, you know, the Yamahas at all. But, you know, we do have the transom saver. Not sure if we need that, but for long trips, you know, I'd like to have that. Just some extra security. As you can see here, you get the Atlas jack plate we talked about. We trailer it at 3 inches. I run it in the water anywhere from 3 to 5.5 inches. Boat really trims out nicely, really gets up on plane nicely. The jack plate obviously allows you to run in much shallower water. The draft on this thing is 12 inches. We've had it in some very shallow water and haven't come close to hitting bottom at all. So yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about getting a bay boat that you can use in freshwater, and, you know, if you're a bass fisherman like me that wants to get into some inshore fishing, this is probably the boat for you. So now for the part probably most people are interested in, since there's not much information on it. Length of this thing from the front of the coupler on the trailer. Now remember, I do not have a swing away tongue. So from the very front of the trailer back to the back of the prop with the motor in this position. So remember, you can trim the motor down. You can probably get, you know, a shorter length, but we got 28 feet 4 inches from the back of the prop to the front of the trailer. And this is on the 23 Fusion. Width from outside of the pole to outside of the pole, 116 inches. So that's the width you're gonna need to get that in your garage. And then height to the top of the T-top is about 9 feet 8 inches. But then remember, you have the rod holders up top, and you have the foldable, whatchamacallit, anchor light up top. So just plan for, you know, 10 feet. It should be able to get under that. It's about 9 feet 10.5 inches to the very top of it. The T-top is sloped, so the front of the T-top is higher, but then you have these rod holders back here, and the light up top. So about 9 feet 10 inches, just plan for 10 feet in that. So again, 28 feet 4 inches total length without the swing away tongue and without the motor trimmed down, 116 inches on the width, and about 9 feet 10 inches tall. Hope that helps. So a couple more measurements here. Inside of the boat to inside of the boat back here is 91 inches, inside to inside. So front deck dimensions, from right here where the seat base is to the other seat base, inside dimensions are 84.5. Up here where the step is, so from basically your solid deck up, you got 77.5 inches across there. Right here in front of these cushions, you got 68 inches across. And then up there where the trolling motor cutout is, you got 45 inches. So plenty of deck space. And then your length from that front kick plate, I'll call it, back here to the step is gonna be 66 inches. So 5.5 feet there. So plenty of room up here for multiple people to fish. It's a good sized deck, especially for a bay boat. We also want to shout out LTD Motors down in High Springs, Florida. Brandon down there really hooked us up, helped us out, got us set up with this thing when almost no one else had these. Very knowledgeable staff in there, and they could not have made the entire process easier. I drove 9 hours from North Carolina to pick this thing up in Florida, and I'd do it again tomorrow if they had another one I was looking. I cannot recommend them enough, so thank you, LTD Motors. We really appreciate it. So one other thing I want to point out for you guys that want to lock your couplers, this type of coupler lock will not work because of how this is rounded. As you see, the coupler is square, so you have to get one that just goes into the hole and goes through it. So again, this one here that goes into the ball with the U-bolt will not work on this. Just a heads up on that. Just a PSA for you boaters out there. As you can see here, always use your fenders when you're sitting at a dock. We had a calm night. We're sitting at the dock. Wake boater came through the no wake zone right next to the dock, threw a big wake, and knocked this up into the dock rail. We didn't have our fenders out, so our fault on that. But he shouldn't have come through the wake zone like that. Guy was super nice, but yep. Avid will be sending us a new sticker. So thank you to them for that, and then we'll just have to get these scratches fixed here. But yeah, always use your fenders. All right, so final thoughts on the Avid now after owning it for a little bit and, you know, kind of putting it through the paces on the water. Great boat, awesome ride. I will say it does not ride like a fiberglass. I see a lot of guys out there saying, man, with the closed cell foam in the boat, rides just like a fiberglass boat. That's simply not true. However, it rides better than any other Luna boat that I've ever been in. You know, it doesn't feel rickety. It doesn't make a lot of noise when you're on the water. It's a very quiet ride, especially when you're hitting waves. But again, it's not like a fiberglass ride. If you're used to a fiberglass boat, this is not going to be the same as that. However, in its own right, it is a phenomenal boat. It's light for the size. I mean, it gets up and goes. We really enjoy it. It rides better than any other aluminum boat that I've ever been in. So, you know, if you're looking for an aluminum boat, hell, even if you're a fiberglass guy and you're looking at these, they're great boats. Layout is awesome. Works really well for freshwater fishing. Works really well for, you know, the inshore fishing. Obviously, it was designed for that. It's awesome for the family with those cushions up front. It's got decent storage. You know, if you're a guy that doesn't bring a ton of tackle with you, it'll work out real well. Remember the rod boxes as they come do not hold longer than a 7-foot 2-inch rod. However, if you take the tubes out, cut the end of them off, you should be able to get more length in there, especially for you guys that use the 7.5-foot rods and up. Plenty of room up front in the deck, as you saw. You know, you can get multiple people up there fishing with that. Plenty of room to kind of walk around. You don't feel cramped in there. You know, we've had 6 people in that boat, and it hasn't been cramped at all. The cooler in the boat is awesome. You know, like I said, I've seen guys have problems with the switches. I don't know if mine were installed differently or if it's a newer version of the switch. Maybe somebody can you know, chime in on that. But mine's been out in torrential downpours, tropical storm Elsa. It's been rained on, and I've had no issues with the switches. Now I do have a T-top, so maybe that helps out in covering them. But again, I've had no issues. You know, tropical storm Elsa came through last week. And I ran out the next day because I saw a post about someone's switches going bad. So I went out, turned everything on, checked everything works out great. The one thing I do want to say that confuses a lot of people, the bilge pump. So if you have that in the off position, that's actually auto. If you flip the switch up, the auto light will turn on and the bilge will start running. However, if you just have it in the off position or the off, that's actually auto. I would recommend, you know, putting some water in there and testing it out to make sure that it does work before you get out there in the water or put it on dock for an extended period of time. But that does confuse a lot of guys that I see on the page. You know, console, it's a great console. I think it's laid out very well. Again, I think if you don't go with a glove box and, you know, don't have, you know, that Raptor or power pole switch on there, and if you can talk them into moving that stereo headset either over, or even if you put it down below on the console where I have my jack plate switch, you could probably get a 12-inch fish finder in there. You could probably even do dual fish finders at some point. There's also plenty of room up top on the console if you want to put, you know, a 15-inch one up there. Probably take up all your sight line when you're driving, but there's space up there to mount some stuff. Overall, really well thought out boat. The whole boat, you know, as you know, is completely welded, filled with closed cell foam. Floats great, dries great, handles great. You know, we love it. So I cannot recommend Avid boats enough. Customer service for me has been phenomenal. The one minor issue that I had, that honestly they didn't have to replace that sticker. That wasn't their fault that a boat came by and did that. You know, that was nothing that it's not like the sticker was defective. It's just like a foamy kind of sticker they put on the side of those boats. That obviously if it gets hit with something like a dock or a screw sticking out, it's gonna cut like that. So you know, Avid had no reason to replace that. I reached out to Brandon down there at LTD Motors in High Springs, Florida, where we bought it, and I had an answer within a day that, you know, there'll be one coming to me shortly. So yeah, thank you for that. Phenomenal customer service. I've seen some people that have had issues contacting Avid, and I just want to say that the way Avid works is you don't contact them directly for any warranty work or anything like that. You go through your dealer. So make sure you pick a good dealer. You know, like I said, LTD Motors down in High Springs, Florida, if they are close enough for you to get there, they are phenomenal. You know, they are responsive, they get it done for you. So make sure you pick a good dealer, because if you do have any issues, that's who you're gonna have to go through. You're not gonna, you know, get much of an answer contacting Avid directly. And that is mostly because of how behind they are right now with the boat orders, and, you know, just how they wanna operate. So I think the 2022 models are coming out now, and I think I saw there's a black console, which looks freaking sweet. And you can now get a black rub rail. Pretty much any color, so I've heard. Don't quote me on that, but that is pretty awesome. But yeah, overall impression on the boat is positive. I love the boat. You know, again, coming from bass fishing, it is the perfect boat for us and what we're looking for. So yeah, y'all enjoy.